Welcome to Happily Ever Aftermath.
The podcast where we discuss relationships in movies and our relationships with them.
I'm Polina Grunbaum.
And I'm Diana Rojek-Sconard. Polina, this was your choice. Get us started.
It was. Okay, I'm going to read an Henrik Peterson's review from IMDb. Not review, synopsis from IMDb, because I am terrible at, short stories, period. Isabel Amy Irving is a young independent woman who works in a bookstore. She meets regularly with her friends and often goes to visit and spend time with her Jewish grandmother, wonderfully played by Rezel Boysick, or Bubby, as she calls her, who thinks it's sad that she doesn't have a man in her life. Trying to do something about that, her grandmother hires a marriage broker, and Isabel ends up getting fixed up with a guy who sells pickles, Sam Posner, played by Peter Reigert. Isabel is not very happy about it to begin with, since she is interested in the writer Anton Mays, played by a guy whose name is Jeroen Krabbe. I don't think I'm pronouncing this right. Who does readings at the bookstore she works in. She's not very interested in Sam to begin with and declines his offer to take her out when they meet for the first time at her grandmother's apartment. Sam is very persistent, though, and Isabel starts to warm up to him slowly as he woos his way into her heart. Still, being very interested in Anton Mays, she fixes Sam up with her best friend Ricky. A good idea to begin with. But as Isabel starts to like Sam more and more, and discovers that maybe Anton Mays isn't that great, she starts spending more time with Sam, and they get together, and they end up kissing in her grandmother's apartment. My history with this movie is that I saw it with my mom. I was probably like 13 or 14. It was 1998, maybe 15.
Okay.
And it was one of those, like, I think I saw a lot of this genre of movies. There was a lot of this genre of movies of sort of the kind of romantic comedy of people in their mid-30s.
Okay.
And it was one of those movies I actually saw with my second time with my husband, and he remembers this movie.
Okay.
But he's like, I don't think I saw it, but I knew about it. So clearly it was somewhere in the zeitgeist, but no one ever talks about it. It's not even available on like HD or hasn't been remastered or anything. But you can get it on Amazon, and which I highly recommend. So I think I just remember, one, it was a difficult time for my mother and I, and for us to have something that we both found adorable and were really into and kind of both found really romantic probably was really good. But also, I just remember this movie. Like when we came up with this podcast, for some reason this movie came up. And I'm not sure why, but I remember seeing this movie several times. Mm-hmm. And kind of it stuck in my head as one of those movies. I guess maybe like a life I wanted to lead. So rewatching it, I think I realized the through line is it's really a movie a lot about New York.
Okay.
And I think at the time that was my vision, was I was going to live in New York City my whole adult life. Mm-hmm. And so therefore any movie that prepared me for this life was really, really attractive. At the time I lived very close outside of New York, and so we used to go there all the time. But
that was actually going to be my question. Were you living in New York at the time?
No, I was living outside of New York.
Okay.
And I did actually live in New York for a time. But I think I had this vision of having this sort of I would know like writers and artists, and also bookstores were like my favorite places at the time. So the fact that she worked in an old, like kind of an old venerable type of bookstore, mm-hmm. and did readings, was like organized readings, did seem like a pretty good life. And also I was very familiar with the Lower East Side. I also really liked the Lower East Side. So this was, I think, looking back on this movie, I think that was my big takeaway. Mm-hmm. And also just the way that she finds romance. Also, truth be told, I am really kind of obsessed with pickles. So thinking back on it, I think that the pickle angle was really key to the whole operation for me.
So let me see if I have this straight. Yeah. You've got the New York book employee hook up with pickles. This is screaming to Polina.
This is just
this
like
is your
it's
life.
talking my language.
This
and
is
clearly
your
my
life.
mom's in it. And also Peter Reigart is like, I mean, he's not cute. Like, it's funny. I remember thinking he was much more handsome, and almost in my memory, even though he is very handsome in this movie, he's just, I don't know, just like a very particular type.
I have to give a very heartfelt apology to Peter Reigart. I remember hearing in the news someone had died, and I made these little cross connections of, oh my god, that lawyer guy from Law and Order's dead. That's so sad. No, he's alive. Now I feel really bad. I just looked it up. He's alive. And just
Peter Reigart, we're really glad you've had a storied, excellent acting career, and we are so sorry. That we thought you were dead.
No, no, you do not need to fall on that sword for me. This is totally me. I was just looking at the whole time, and I'm just like, oh, I remember him from, of course I watched a lot of Law and Order growing up. You have access to TNT. You're going to watch a lot of classic Law and Order.
I think there's a time in people's lives that they just end up watching a lot of Law and Order. In everyone's life, a lot of Law and Order must fall.
It is the adult watching The Price is Right when you're homesick. Mm-hmm. So, and it's so funny. And it's like, I look at Peter Reigart, and I'm just like, oh, wow, that's totally cool. He's that defense lawyer guy who's always the a-hole. But no, I just clicked on it. I'm like, yeah, when was that? And also I need to figure out who from Law and Order died.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of making you crazy.
It's a little bit
upsetting. We had to start recording the podcast because the sun is setting, and we will spend the entire evening trying to figure out which Law and Order guy died.
We were talking about pork loin before the episode started, so
that's true. If you know what, my mother speak of this is one of the few recipes that I make of hers is I rediscovered her pork loin. The key is you start at 450 and then switch to 250. But back to this movie where no one eats pork.
No pork loin in
loin in this particular movie.
There was schnapps.
There was schnapps. There was a lot of roast chicken. There were ostensibly pickles. Mm-hmm. There was a spread. There was a spread.
There was a bris.
I forgot. I had totally blocked the bris out.
And
it was like I have to say, it was a very graphic bris scene.
I was nervous.
It was an anxiety. Have you ever been to a bris?
No, I've never been
to like one or two.
I've not been to a bris. No, talk to me about baptisms. I'm all over it.
Shut up. Okay, I've been to a baptism. All right, I'm good.
You're fine. No, here's something that's okay. You told me about this movie. I like to pride myself on at least having heard of many, many movies. I had never heard this movie.
Yeah.
I wasn't entirely clear what was happening as the movie was at. And it's to me, it was a continuation of that guy. I know that guy. Where do I know that guy? And what it really exploded because Amy Irving, she is Sue Snell from Carrie. And, the former Mrs. Steven Spielberg. So I have all these little facts.
Do you know she dated Willie Nelson?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So yeah, Amy Irving, here is your main actress. Very cool. All right. Cute movie about this. Really interesting. Peter Reigart, we've already associated him with my Law and Order upbringing.
Yep.
This is what was really crazy. So Anton Mays. So in the beginning, when there was that opening scene and he was just the eyes meet across the room situation, I'm just like, is this the guy who turns out he's not going to notice her, but then he's going to notice her? But in which way is he not going to notice her and then he's going to notice her? Is it going to be a good thing or is it going to be a bad thing?
So you were like he was going to be the main guy. It's true. They do present it that way.
That was my thing, though. It's like I was playing the tropes in my head because I know nothing about this movie except this woman is going to get set up. And in my brain also went to, is this woman going to get set up? But it turns out it's not about just being stuck to who your family thinks you should go for who your heart cries out for. Well, it turns out her heart was crying out for kind of
the guy.
D-bag.
Yeah.
So a-holes and D-bags, people.
Yeah. So can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah, of course.
So why do you... So when you are watching, is it because you're watching it for the podcast that you're like, oh, I want to find the trope? Or do you tend to do that with movies?
This is just who I am. I mean, if it's a horror trope. So recently went to a horror movie. The whole time I was there, I hate horror movies. I went because Ryan wanted to go. And I watched it. And
he really wanted to go.
And the first jump scare, I was like, crap. I forgot these stupid movies do these stupid jump scares. So the whole time I'm bracing myself because I fell for it. I fell for the first jump scare, and I'm a little bit ashamed of myself because I'm smarter than that. But fortunately for me, I noticed a pattern of like, all right, music, sting, silence, jump. And so when I was able to get that pattern down, this was not a good movie. So if you can figure out a pattern of jump scares, you're not doing a great job. But no, that's just me. I mean,
no, I'm just curious.
Of course, yeah. Well, listening or watching the movies for the podcast, I am on my guard.
I am too. Well, because I feel like I have to. I'm trying to analyze, and also I think for it, especially for movies that you saw, especially when it's your movie, because you're like, oh wait, because you're trying to think like, what was it about this movie when I was younger that was so like.
Of course.
So. What did you think? Did you like? Did you enjoy the movie?
It was pretty good. Because I didn't have any.
It's not your favorite.
Well, of course, it's not my favorite.
It's not your My Fair Lady, for example.
It might be My Fair Lady. They didn't start singing, so that was definitely. The thing is I had a really rough time connecting with Amy Irving's character. So Isabel,
me too, actually.
I had a really rough time, and that's usually what draws me in. I am the stand-in for this person. This is my love story. Where is my love story gonna go? And for me, I was more connected to the fact that she was disassociating herself with her family on the other side of town and these cultured people over here. This is where I belong. This is where I'm supposed to be. We're supposed to be listening to these authors that, may not necessarily be, celebrated, but they should be celebrated. And I felt a little bit...
See, I think maybe that's the part I felt connected to, but yeah. So
really?
You didn't feel, yeah.
Well, okay, so what was the part that should be connected? The disassociated from your family?
Well, I mean, I didn't feel like she was totally disassociated with her family because she...
Oh, no, not disassociated with... Well, here.
Because she hung out with her grandmother all the time.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so not even disassociating so much as, I don't want to date the pickle guy.
Yeah.
I think that's where I just kind of shut off. And that's perfectly fine because there's... I have my own versions of that as well, but I don't know. But for my version of that is, I don't want to date a guy who listens to the Backstreet Boys. But that was my 14-year-old self. Yeah. It has.
Do you really still want?
I listen to the Backstreet Boys now. I'm not ashamed of my musical taste. Again, that's what's really nice about being older is that all those things that I'm never gonna this or how could you possibly this. I mean, usually the types of things like that is no, I'm not going to associate with a person who's hateful, or I'm not going to associate with a person who's mean. Or anything to that effect. It's not Backstreet Boys related. How about that?
Yeah,
nothing. Personality defects.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, music was definitely a big one. I think when I was younger, it was like that was sort of a deal breaker for me.
Have you ever seen the movie They Came Together?
No.
It's a great parody movie about romantic movies and just like, you like fiction books? That is so weird. And I'm thinking that's exactly it. I'm like, oh my God, you watch The Simpsons too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we have so much in common.
But the exact opposite.
What was the movie who said, it's like, we both like soup.
Not that one, but I feel them.
Yeah.
I love soup.
I love soup.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was exactly that.
So, I guess I saw it differently. I mean...
Oh, of course. Go ahead.
Well, so So basically, Isabel there's this Yenta, which is like the matchmaker, who... and her mother basically calling on a matchmaker, especially one who's clearly like...
Grandmother.
Yeah. Grandmother who is on... So her grandmother lives in the Lower East Side, and this is a time when it was still this like very... it was this, very sort of... Eastern European Jewish neighborhood. There's still like remnants of that now, but it really even, at the time of this movie, like we used to go visit friends of my parents and friends of their friends and sort of in that community, immigrant community. And there was definitely it was definitely more more of a thing there. And I think, There was like, there were all these stores. I mean, there's still like Russ and Daughters and Katz's and these places that would sell you like, you know, pickled fish and all that stuff. Anyway, but the great thing was, but the thing that I saw was sort of, was not that she was, it was so much about, it was more, not really about her family. It was more about sort of a way of being, like a way of being a woman, which was that you married someone from the neighborhood.
Okay.
Now, we don't even know if she grew up in that neighborhood because her parents live in Florida.
Okay.
So we don't know if like maybe they grew up somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Like they grew up outside, like the grandmother lived there. But she, like, first off, the grandmother is like the best reason to see this movie. Like, in fact, pretty much if you just skip to all the scenes with her, you are going to be in for like a really great like 30-40 minutes. Because first off, she clearly, their relationship is sort of the most clear relationship in the movie. They love each other, and they sort of whine at each other, and grandmother bosses her around, and she doesn't accept it. Like, she clearly is, they're past the point where she has to hide anything from her, or she wants to make her happy, but it's not sort of an obsessive, like, I don't want to tell you something about my real life. Mm-hmm. It's just like, I'm like, you know, we've agreed to disagree about my life. And so I think that to bring in a Yenta was so insulting and was sort of so old country. Okay. That it was so, like, it was just kind of humiliating. It's like, you're not just setting someone up, you're actually spending money. Yeah. Right? So anyway, so when the Yenta and the Yenta and the grandmother and Peter show up at her grandmother's house, she is already predisposed to disliking him because he is the kind of man that would pay for a Yenta. Like, this is so old. This is so old school. Right. And then there's sort of, there's like, it's clearly a lot of snobbery. Like something she says to her grandmother is like, I can call Isaac Singer on the phone. Like, I have his private number, and so to her, she's like, that my grandmother is like not seeing that I am successful, which I think is like a really common, certainly is a common tension of like, especially if you're not successful in the like lawyer own your own business, or lawyer doctor own your own business sort of way.
Yeah, is this the beginnings of that? Because if you really think about success, I mean, lawyer, doctor,
I don't think that's ever gone away.
No, it hasn't. But no,
there's definitely like a generational thing.
But think about the gigantic diverge of what people can do, and they can make a ton of money doing it, and they could be something that you have absolutely never heard of.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I think I mean,
think about what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a fireman.
Yeah. No one's like, I want to be an app developer. Well, now maybe they are.
You can, why an app developer, though? I want to be I'm not good at this game. You go.
Yeah, no, I'm not good at this game either. but yeah, so I guess I saw it that way more, that like, it's not that there's a lot of, I mean, the movie is a lot about her snobbery and her letting go of her idea of herself and what actually makes her happy.
Yeah, but quick follow-up question. She works at a bookstore. Besides booking the talent, what does she do?
Her whole job does seem like a part-time job. Well, I assume she does booky things.
Sure.
Like she's maybe in charge of that, but she probably.
Well, there's also a line with the famous author man, which the whole time, I'm sorry, I could not understand half of what he was saying.
Oh, really? I actually thought that I was like, his accent's really sexy. He's got one of those strong, I'm a sucker for people with kind of strong cheekbones.
Well, for me, the whole time I'm just thinking, where have I not understood this guy before? Because I'm like, I know this actor. Why do I know this actor? Thank you, internet. No, he's from The Fugitive, the Harrison Ford movie, and I'm just like, oh. Oh, yeah. So that was distracting me the whole time. And again, I was also thinking that this is a guy who's going to be the love interest. So my vision was completely skewed on all of this. So I'm waiting for one thing to happen, and when it took a left turn, I was, again, like, we're going to do this. Okay. So what was my point? I couldn't understand this guy, but he's there. He's an author. I guess the fact that, was it all of these movies that I've seen in the future of like, oh, this guy's clearly the wrong guy for you. This guy is going to help you learn a lesson about something because he's clearly the wrong guy for you. And what I'm worried about is that movies now lay it on so thick. He's practically tying her to the railroad tracks and twirling his mustache.
What was it that we were discussing this in the context of, I think it was one of your movies. It was like, oh, maybe it wasn't Working Girl. He was like a dentist, a podiatrist. Okay. It was
Only You.
It was Only You.
Oh, Dwayne.
Like Dwayne. Like, he wasn't a bad guy, and but this guy is. I think you're right. But this guy was interesting. Is the first scene is basically this bait and switch.
A little bit, yeah. This
huge bait and switch where it's like, they meet, they look across the room, they stare at each other, and she thinks this is. So clearly she's known him for a long time.
She knows him.
Yeah. And not a long time, but she's just seen it. Like, he comes to the neighborhood, he's a neighborhood writer. She's like, I'm very, into neighborhood writers. But basically, he stares at her and he like gestures her over, and and it's clear she's like, this is the one. This is the time.
Yeah.
And then he just basically treats her like a servant. Like, he puts an empty glass down on the tray that she's holding.
He non-verbally sweethearted her.
Yeah.
Sweetheart, can you clean this up for me?
And
oh, that's what I just figured out. Okay. I thought they were going to My Big Fat Greek Wedding have you seen that movie?
This is really embarrassing, but I don't think I have.
Well, the basic premise is that she's got a big fat Greek family, and she
invites them to the wedding.
No, there is a wedding. No, the whole idea is that she falls in love with somebody who's not Greek, and I thought I think that's what I was anticipating. Yeah. I think that's what I was anticipating. This guy, this European writer who he's in his book world, and. Did any family? Does it even matter what background he is?
I think he's Danish, because he's a Danish actor. But at some point they talk about there's that scene where the really florid writer, older writer, the female writer, older woman.
That was
fun. That was actually super funny.
No, that was fun that he was getting crap.
Yes, exactly. And then. It was like, why don't you write in your original tongue? And I don't know. That was just very strange. But it was really, really. She kind of made fun of everybody. Like, she made fun of the other bookstore clerk ends up having this public access TV show that's like kind of becoming really big and was in Interview magazine, which I think was the other thing that was like super exciting to me, because I started really getting into Interview magazine and that whole like Andy Warhol, like, this is going to be my life in New York. It was going to be this very artsy life.
With pickles.
There's going to be so many pickles. Maybe, yeah. The pickles definitely played, I think, certainly my mother and I liking that movie, the pickles were pretty good. And I have to say that when I rewatched it, I really lingered over that scene where he's like, there was one scene where she shows up at his pickle shop, which is basically like a storefront, like an open storefront, like a
bodega,
like a vegetable store.
Okay.
Like where when you go to a vegetable shop,
I don't know,
fruit and vegetable shop, and you go and like they just like kind of open. There is not, you don't close doors, and he's like reaching his hands in and like putting but he has just tons of pickle barrels. Mm-hmm. And in my memory, I remember that there were lots of scenes with pickles, but clearly there was only the one. But I was like, I'm gonna watch that again. Mm-hmm. And he's like a barrel of sauerkraut. I'm like, oh yes, this is good. So movie featured more prominently. Because I have to say, like, Amy Irving, there's something, like, not quite... I don't get it. I just don't get the Amy... And I remember she was sort of... Her star was sort of ascending at this time.
Yeah.
But, like, I can't... Something about her is not, like, as a movie actress. But then I saw her on stage a couple years after this movie. And she was so good.
Yeah, she was good. Again,
but she's not like a great romantic comedy. There's something about her that's like a weird helplessness almost, which I don't see on stage. Which I guess maybe she's supposed to be in this movie very still, I guess.
Okay, so this particular character, again, I mentioned that I was having such a hard time connecting with her because she seems, this is where my life should be, but this is where my life is still connected. So she's at a point where she feels very conflicted about rejecting one while still trying to be a part of it, but also trying to grow in this other life. One of the other things that was kind of rough is, okay, so matchmaker, she brings them together. There's supposed to be this interaction, and she wants to be nice, but at the same time, being nice isn't working, so she tries to set him up with someone else, because he's got all of the right, he's really good on paper. He's got a great job, and he's,
Yeah, but he's part of that. I mean, everything turns around.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't let you finish.
Oh, no. I'm just saying this is the other thing that made it so I'm just like, okay, well, no, I understand you're at a conflict. You want to be this part of it. Oh, you're trying to pawn him off on somebody else. I understand that you're trying to gracefully bow out of this matchmaking thing, but I don't think I truly appreciate the scheme version of it.
Yeah.
And then it became oh, he seems like kind of a nice guy. Oh, my friend really seems to be interested. Now it's, I don't want him, but I don't necessarily want anyone else to have him either, in a very, very basic sense.
Yeah, that was like really weird. And she actually taught, like, so the thing that so basically she knows, so the trajectory of their relationship is that they meet.
Yep.
And she's already predisposed to hate him because of the whole, like, he's from the old country.
I don't think she hates him. She's quick to reject him.
She's quick to reject him, but she's quick to reject him before she met him because of the way she's like, he's the kind of guy, he's a traditional guy. He wants a traditional life.
Does he?
Well, no, but that's what she's assuming because she meets him through the Yenta, right?
Of course.
So then he does this, so she doesn't really see him. She never really tries to get to know him.
No.
She's already rejecting everything. She's doing it for her grandmother. She's going to get through it, and she's already going to reject it because this is not her life. That's the first thing she says. I don't do this. And he tells the story of the hat. He said he has this friend, and
really
basically...
Yeah, go ahead.
What?
Oh, I was about to say, you keep using the word yenta, and I had to look it up because I'm just like, I really hope we're using this word correctly.
I know, I was thinking that too.
So I look it up, and it says a woman who is a gossip or a busybody. I'm like, oh, that's no good. But Urban Dictionary Yiddish word that describes an older woman who is a matchmaker. Okay, so we're using it in the matchmaker sense. That's all well and good. But apparently in Fiddler on the Roof, the modern use is the annoying old hag. And I'm just like...
Oh, and not a yenta. She does get referred to as a yenta sort of later in the course of, like, a bunch of
I'm also
women.
We were talking earlier about how words are, perfectly,
we're fine now,
benign in the beginning.
I think yenta's still
okay, just double checking. I'm very sensitive
but I
to
don't
these
know.
things.
I know, I understand. I mean, I hope, like, please, I apologize.
We get all these angry letters.
I don't know. I am... But
You were saying, I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, no angry letters. We're so sorry. So it was basically sort of a sign of, like, of another life. And she says, oh, I'm just not, this is not my scene. Like, I do not, I'm not subscribed to a whole life that she ascribed to him.
Right.
Which is that he... has these people matchmaking for him. It's a very like, I'm from the old country kind of world where women are, women make a home and a man the men like
Make a living.
make a living.
Yep.
The whole thing, you know, he was gonna live in a much more traditional Jewish household.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think she described all these things to him,
Mm-hmm.
and he tells her the story of this hat, where basically this guy wore this hat forever, his friend, and then he got another, but then something happened to the hat, so he bought a new hat, and suddenly he found love because this woman could now see his eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, oh, you should try a new hat. And then he actually gets her to at her grandmother's house a hat, a beautiful Stetson.
It was really cute on her.
So cute on her, because then she looked like she had this halo of her curly hair. It was so pretty. And though all of her bookstore employee made fun of her, go, oh, it's the second coming of Annie Hall or something like that, which is David Hyde Pierce. Pierce in the movie,
right?
From Frasier.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so what the hell, guys? It was a cute hat.
It was I know. It was a super cute hat, and so she did that, and then she goes to thank him because she's super charmed by it, and she sees him. Like at first she sees him and she's like, oh wait, maybe I'm wrong about this guy. But then because the hat fit perfectly.
Yeah.
She's like, wait, and then she sees him sort of like dig his hands into the pickle jar, and it's that thing of like, he's this like
blue collar.
He's this kind of more blue collar, or like he's so kind of old country or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and basically, she tries to set up with a friend, but she does it very badly because the friend has asked to be set up. But she thinks, oh, he's a good enough guy. And then they end up talking before she sets him up in this very awkward way where basically they go to a restaurant. The friend waits at the bar. They are supposed to eat, and then the friend's supposed to join them. Mm-hmm. But they end up getting a conversation. And the key part of the conversation, what turns it all around, is when Peter tells her the story of, like, this woman's been coming around for years, mm-hmm. and I just kind of brush her off. But like I respect her. She has a job. And he tells all these really funny stories about how like these pictures clearly are nothing like the person. Mm-hmm. And then he said one day gives him this, and it's her picture, mm-hmm. because he has seen her around the neighborhood. Right. He's seen her sitting with her grandmother, mm-hmm. her puppy. Yeah. And he's seen her with her grandmother. And seen it with her. So suddenly she finds out that he's not used this matchmaker. Right. And that's what changed it. Is suddenly she's like, wait, the things I think about this guy mm-hmm. aren't true. Right. Because everything that she thought was predicated, like the thing she was angriest at her grandmother about. Mm-hmm. was that she was the matchmaker part. Yeah. Right?
Why would I want to be with a man who pays a woman to help him find?
Yeah. And especially pays this, like, it's like basically to find another, mm-hmm. Jewish woman who is, like, lives in the neighborhood and knows she's like, I have this other life that she just keeps saying is like a million miles away. And she likes her life. Mm-hmm. And she loves her life. Mm-hmm. But, and so a lot of her reticence is, like, this isn't, what if this guy doesn't like, he's not going to be into the same things I am. We can't talk about books. We mm-hmm. can't go to plays. Yeah. We won't have anything in common. So I think that time at the restaurant is what really turns it for her. And then her friend shows up, and Peter clearly thinks, oh my God, they're having such a good time. They're having such a good time. Yeah. And then, like, the friend shows up and he's like, oh my God, this is another bait and switch. Yeah. Like, you're finally seeing, like, I'm breaking through. Yeah. And then the friend also is like, wait, this isn't really working. But they do end up going out. Yeah. And it's funny because Izzy asks her, another friend, have they, yeah, like, how are they going out? Are they doing these things? Are they having fun? Are they like, mm-hmm. And And the friend is clear, like, what's up? Why are you talking to me about this? Like, why? Maybe you like this guy.
And I was feeling the weird insecurities of high school in that way. It's like, why are you asking me about this? And again, I've felt those weird jealousy pang type things, and it's just like, you're talking about how you're an independent woman and you're doing this and you're doing that, and I understand why you're a victim to it, but if you are going to take this stand about, I'm an independent woman and I don't need this and I just done that and I'm finally rid of this guy, what is tying you to this guy? Besides the fact that other people are trying to set you up with him, you yourself have already made these assumptions about him.
Yeah.
But if you're so set on that, just let it go.
Yeah, that's the thing. And he keeps saying, he's like, for someone who doesn't want to see me, they meet up, because the grandmother also lures him to her apartment. Like, the grandmother is very committed to this whole thing. So she keeps trying all these little tricks.
And I think, just to give it a little bit of credit to the grandmother, she hasn't been throwing specific men at her constantly.
No.
This is the
first time.
This is the first one in her line of sight where she sees, something positive to come of it.
And she keeps really encouraging him, like, stick with it. So the thing that is frustrating to me is there's the writer. So it's basically that she is this writer guy has set up this whole mystique for her that she can have this like romance, so this is the guy she wants. It's a writer. He's complicated. He reads poetry to her. See, this when I was 15, I was like, yes, I totally got her thing. Like, why pick the boring when you can have the, like, super sexy, super, like, hyper masculine, but sexy voice, like, reads you poetry, recites poetry for you. And the whole, like, he's very enigmatic. And so, but there's all these moments where basically he lures her in, and then and she's just sort of falls for it so easily. And now watching it as an adult, I'm like, oh my God, like there's a scene at the end where she's finally going to really realize she likes Peter. And they're finally going to go on a real date. And they end up going to, and this is actually kind of inexplicable, though they try to talk about it. They're going to meet at her grandmother's house again. Like, they're always at her grandmother's house.
Yeah.
And right before, and she buys a very expensive dress.
Yep.
And goes to, she's going, she's like dressed up. She's leaving work, and Anton, the writer, like, sees this, and it's kind of the final thing where he invites her to he invites her to his apartment finally.
To read the new...
To read 2 pages, which apparently take like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And kisses her, and finally kind of makes good on this, talks about how, he loves her stillness. And plies her with poetry, and they're making out, and then he basically talks about her being his assistant.
Yeah.
And that's when she's like, oh, you don't want me. That's when it finally hits her. But she's about to go on she's going on this date. Like, she couldn't talk to him tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it was making me crazy. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Why do you keep falling? Like, at first I totally got it about the guy. But then I'm like, oh my God, can't you see it? Like you take him out for a really nice lunch. And he just ends up going to bed with his assistant.
Current assistant.
Yeah. So when she talks about, and it just makes me so mental. But at the time, I was just so, like, I don't know. I was just charmed by all of it. Like, I would have totally been charmed by the Anton man.
I want to pretend that I wouldn't be charmed. Maybe not by that guy.
Yeah, but like your equivalent.
My equivalent of there. So like, yeah, no, I'm not even going to do my equivalent of it. I remember going to gym and some guy flashed me this like $1 million sales smile, and I'm just like, I'm so sorry, but we'll be with you in just a minute. And immediately I was like, okay. Okay. So it doesn't even have to be my type. I just have to get the like the weird,
Well, that was the thing. He's so magnetic. Like, he just, even like, there's that scene, they're sitting on the bed, and she's like, because there's no couch. There's no couch in his apartment, but this like luxe bed, enormous, and like,
I'm sorry, it's a trap.
It's a trap. It's like the only thing of color. It's like this pre-war apartment, bright white. You see you see the computer.
Yeah.
Where he clearly does his writing, and then the bed in another room. And it's like, he turns on the light, he kind of like fluffs the cushions and has her sit up. And then he actually kneels before her. And he's so much like, just such an imposing physical figure. Like,
he's freaking tall.
He's really tall and sort of clearly very pushy and very used to like, and she's just always, it's kind of funny because she seems very confident, but then whenever she's around him, she's a little like,
yeah,
whatever you say. Like, it's really, it was just making me crazy.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. Again, the whole time I was just having a difficult time connecting with her, and I think that's why every step of the way I was becoming more and more frustrated. But I will give you this part of the movie. It isn't so much, because of course what we do in this podcast is that we look into when did they fall in love.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, we totally should.
Well, here's the deal, though. I think I should probably get your response to that before I go with what I'm saying. So,
no, go.
Well, no, okay. So it isn't so much when did they fall in love, because I personally think, I'm not so sure they did. I think that our main character, Mr. Pickleman, what is his name? Peter. No, Peter's the actor's name. Is that his name in the movie, too?
Oh my God.
Sam. His name is Sam.
Oh my God. Why?
Because his name is Peter. We kept apologizing to Peter. No, Sam. Sam, the guy with the pickles there. He was smitten before the movie even got started.
Yes.
So he was further along. And what's great is that this movie helped solidify that even though he got to meet her, even though he got to spend time with her, he got to see her in her mess of a glory. I don't know, in all her messy glory. And it just, if anything, it solidified that, oh, okay, I was smitten before, but now I know that you have some flaws, but I'm still here. And the moment it isn't so much when did they fall in love, the moment I was convinced about this guy, when I fell in love, we'll say, is when he's at her apartment and her married
friend with benefits
shows up. They had another fight and this and this and that and the other, and he's like, oh, you have someone here and blah 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 blah, and ooh, this is uncomfortable. And after all that was said and done, and he needed a place to stay, it was, well, why don't you come and stay with me? That was the moment when I was done. That was the moment I realized, not only is he, oh sure, he's a blue collar worker who has his elbows up to his he's got brine all up to his elbows.
But he washes his hands in milk and vanilla.
That's nice.
Soaks them.
It's a nice little pin at the bottom that just because he works with pickles, it doesn't mean he doesn't know how to, properly cleanse the smell off of him. When he offered a place to stay for that guy, it wasn't, I'm trying to pee on my territory situation so much as like, all right, this is a tough situation. And I'm not going to say you can't because this is my girl and blah, blah, blah. Instead, it was just, why don't you come stay with me?
Yeah.
And it was interesting. But that's when I realized, oh, this is the kind of guy it is. This is really uncomfortable, but it's still like, you can come stay with me. I'm offering this situation here. And I think if it were, I don't know, I can't speak on behalf of the old country or New York or, Jewish culture or whatever it is, but I think if anything, there's an opportunity to just look down on the whole thing. You're married, you're sleeping with her, you're crashing here, I'm out of here. Instead, it was just, here's an issue, but I still want to be part of this.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I totally forgot about that scene. I love that scene.
That stood out to me so much.
And when she said, you didn't have to do this, or this is so selfless of you, and he goes, no, it's not. And it's basically like, no, I'm not going to have him stay here. And he clearly realizes they have a relationship, which it means it's the second guy in her life that just sort of want, like, she sees it as being independent, but they're just guys who basically only think of don't see her as a full person, but see her as kind of how she fits into their life.
Yeah. Yeah, that again, it really opened my eyes to this guy. This is the guy right here.
Yeah.
You don't have to have these horrible men around him to realize that this is a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, with her, I can see her turning the table on it. But when we get to the end of the movie, she's really upset that she may have lost her opportunity to be with him, because she runs away from the author when she realizes all he wants is an assistant. And she gets there, and she sheds a couple of tears when she realizes that she missed her opportunity with him. But no, it turns out he was just on the back patio, and he comes to see her. And I don't think that's when she fell in love with him. I think that comes later.
That's what I think.
And I think that's why I think this is a great movie, in that it's not trying to shove it all together in one neat little bow. So I don't think they're head over heels for each other. I don't think there's a ring in the not too distant future. I think there's a lot of opportunity in the future for them to get to know each other on a level that's not so convoluted with expectations and preconceived notions.
I think he is in love with her.
You think so?
Yes.
Already?
So, because he actually says to her, like, I thought this was going to be something really special. I thought this was going to be the thing I've been waiting for.
Okay.
And also his dogged way. He goes in and he is ready. Mm-hmm. He is ready.
Is this when he says that?
When he meets her the first time. He
okay.
is ready for... He's not nervous. He's probably nervous. But he knows that he wants it.
Okay.
Because he has been keeping this picture in that book.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
And he said he saw her with I've seen you around the neighborhood. I saw you with your bubby. I saw you spending time here. I saw the way that you were. Mm-hmm. And you can see that she's so comfortable with her grandmother. She really is kind of there's a part of her that's really genuinely who she is. Okay. She's much more relaxed. And I do feel like, I think that's why he's so frustrated. Like, I think that I agree with you. I don't think she's in love with him at the end of the movie when they kiss.
Yeah.
I think that I kind of question that. I do think that the moment that things turned for them is when the moment that things really turned for them is when she realized at the restaurant, when he was setting her friend up, she realized, he didn't get a matchmaker. He didn't use the Anta. Mm-hmm. So suddenly she's like, wait, she realizes that everything I've ever thought about him, maybe it's a lie. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm totally wrong about this guy. But it's funny, when I kind of fell in love with him, not with the pickles. No, when he was playing, what was he playing,
handball?
Handball?
Yeah.
He's playing handball with, the old guy.
Yeah.
I just, loved his whole way. And the hat. The hat. when he sends her the hat. But, there's something about his, whole way of being kind of in the neighborhood. And the matchmaker introduces, at the beginning, Hannah Mandelbaum. Mm-hmm. Or Hannah Mandelbaum. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I thought she was interesting. I've only seen her in one other movie, and it's She-Devil. And it's,
she's in She-Devil.
The voice is very...
She's also in Midnight Cowboy and Heat.
Oh, wow. No, well, just that movie. I watched She-Devil a lot when I was younger. Oh. So that particular voice really stood out in my head. So I'm just I know. Oh, she was so in She-Devil. So she played Meryl Streep's mother. So
oh my God, I so want to see She-Devil.
You haven't seen She-Devil? It's not...
I feel like I did. I totally saw it. I did see it.
I will tell you this. It's not great, but it still has its super entertaining moments. Not... Oh, dude. Meryl Streep in a movie with Roseanne Barr.
That's the thing. Now I really want to see it again. Oh my God.
It doesn't fit the podcast criteria.
Oh, yeah.
Unless it's an anti-love story.
Well, but if it's movies you watched, maybe...
Oh, this did not affect my relationship. No. This movie was just available.
Okay, so So that's when I think that that's the moment where she really realizes that I think that's the moment that she's like, wait, I was totally wrong. And but she's kind of committed. And plus, like, the author's still in play. Also, why would she buy this really expensive dress? Like, was clearly just something she could not afford.
Yeah.
She basically is like, I am bringing my lunch for,
Yeah.
like, now I'm just basically eating toast.
Well, see, that's just it, though, is that there's this, it is, the big outfit, she wants to give him a chance type of thing, and I do wonder where it would have gone had she had not had the whole author thing, the artificially created conflict to help you amplify that it turns out your feelings are real.
Though, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's a fairly realistic thing, that you have sort of multiple, I mean, at any point you have multiple, like, interests, and especially one that has been, I mean, that guy is a genius at, like, he drags her in. So, I mean, he clearly does this with a lot of women. Where he just, like, yeah, he kind of, like, does this thing where he sees her, he writes this beautiful thing on the flyleaf of a book. He gives her a book and he writes this, like, either really hokey or really poetic thing, depending on how you feel. Like, basically this thing of, like, I see you in this traditionally literary, female way of, like, I see that you're like, kind of a projection. Like, she's this angel in a way. He's like, I just inspired by your stillness. And yet, like, just lures her in. And so, but she, like, for him, the end game is so different than for her. Like, the end game for her seems to be that she ends up, the end game for her, I think, is that she ends up with him, and that they're partners. The end game for him is that he has an assistant.
Yeah.
And that he gets to sleep with.
Yeah.
And I think, but to her also, like, I don't think she says, I don't want to be married. I don't need this in my life. And I really do believe that she wants romance more than she wants a relationship.
Okay.
Or she thinks she does.
Okay.
And I think...
Do you think she just rejects the notion of marriage just the same way she rejects the matchmaker's attempts?
Yeah, I think she rejects the idea that this is an important part of being an adult.
Okay.
Like, I think that because, like, that's a big argument that they have, is basically she's like, she lives alone, to her grandmother, she lives alone like a dog. But to her, she's like, she scored an apartment.
Right.
She scored the life that she wants.
She scored a rent-controlled apartment, didn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice. She's like,
if I remember correctly, people would be paying about
$1,500. I'm like, oh man.
Oh. What are you paying?
Yeah, like, yeah, and so and her life is, it's, and she's clearly not like a homemaker, because when Sam ends up over, she ends up, like, doing the thing where she takes all of her clothes and puts them in the bathtub because there's nowhere to put the clothes.
Yeah.
And so I think it's not even so much that she, like, I think she almost doesn't want to admit to wanting it because it makes her a cliche, or it makes her old-fashioned, or just, like, it's not necessary. Like, her friend is having a baby without the husband.
Right. And there's the gossip around it as well.
Yeah.
Well, okay, well, then here's my question for you. That, with what you just said, where does their relationship go from there?
I was just thinking this we watched the end of this together right before we filmed or rewatched, and I think when I first saw it, and I actually watched it, like, kind of in a cozy romantic situation with my husband for when I rewatched it for the podcast, and the first time a couple weeks ago, and it was, like, this very nice kind of movie to watch on the couch with your husband. Like, it was just romantic enough. And I thought, oh, I'm giving them a chance. But actually rewatching it today, I think that he likes her more than she likes him.
I wholeheartedly agree.
I think she's going to get kind of whiny and weird. And I think she's going to be weird about how he fits into her literary life. So I think it could go one of two ways.
Okay.
I think either in a little while she's going to be like, you know, the things that you care about and the things that I care about are not the same.
Yeah.
And
she's way too conflicted on her own.
yeah.
I think bringing in somebody who has a very good idea of what they want out of life.
I think that's the thing. He is much more focused than she is. She's kind of letting things happen to her.
Yeah. Including him.
Yeah.
So I don't feel good about this relationship.
I don't really feel good about this
I
relationship.
want him to be happy.
Yeah, I want him to be happy. And the other scene that made me fall in love with him is when he totally knows that washing her grandmother's windows is a ploy. But he also really just wants... He really, is really happy just hanging out with the grandmother.
She's fun.
I would be happy hanging out with the grandmother, too. And I think that's maybe the thing that film is missing. Is I enjoyed watching this film. I probably enjoyed it more than you did. And I do because I think I really loved the fact that, New York was sort of one of the characters. And I loved, I really did associate with this idea of I connected more with that idea of the stuff that your family is doing is sort of not what your life is going to be like, and because I was not, I just literally could not have the same life as my parents. It was not going to happen because I came to the U.S. We're living in this... I guess in some ways, maybe I did want the same life that my parents had when they were in the Soviet Union. I didn't really make that connection before.
Huh.
Because my parents were living in this, at the time, but was a cosmopolitan city, certainly in the, Soviet Union at the time.
Uh-huh.
They had a lot of friends that, were... they considered themselves hipsters, and they were really, were having parties, and they read a lot and talked about books and read poetry to each other, and we went to museums, and they went to movies, and they went to plays, and they did all these things. And so I guess I thought, I guess now in retrospect, that is I wanted that life, but just in New York. And I thought, I think I didn't really want a permanent... I think I've talked about this before, that a lot of this... I had this idea in my head that wasn't locked into a permanent relationship.
Uh-huh.
That wasn't the end game.
Okay.
It was to have lots of interesting relationships, which is ironic because actually I am obviously extremely monogamous, I guess. So...
you found your pickle man.
I found my pickle man. But he... I don't know. It's maybe that's the thing, is I don't feel good about her. I don't feel good about her. I feel like she's going to get whiny.
I agree with you, and I don't want this to be a big, get it together, lady. He's such a great guy. I'll take him for myself. No, I think it has more to do with, I can see this gigantic clash of goals in life.
Yes.
And it's really a question of when will he stop being okay with her.
Yes.
Not her flightiness, but her indecisiveness.
I have a feeling she's going to have another moment where it's going to be another author, and the romance of it is going to wear off. I also wonder, I think you hit it on the head, that he's someone who's, he knows what he wants. And it's truly what he wants. And there's this really wonderful thing where he talks about losing his father. Yeah. And how great his father was and how charming his father was. And that kind, he's a very confident man, but you do see this core of kind of a sadness and a loneliness. And I wonder if he also wasn't actively looking for the one. until like this is my theory. His father died, and he
Okay.
realized that he was alone.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, though. You're right. He is an incredibly confident man, and I realize what she's not. She's not looking for confident. She's looking for charismatic. Because that author, he is so insecure.
Yes.
He is incredibly insecure.
Oh my God, yes. Confident versus charismatic.
Bam.
Man, Diana.
Look what I just happened.
That was good.
I did. I nailed it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he is also very charismatic. He's extremely charming, Sam. But yes, he is.
I wouldn't say he is. I think
Really?
that's why.
Oh
I
my
think that
God.
I wouldn't.
Oh,
think
maybe
so.
that's it. See, I was very drawn to him.
I take back the bam.
No, I think it is Bam. No, but he is not. No, but the charisma is not his. Like, the charisma is the charisma is the primary characteristic of the author.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know,
whereas the charisma is like, it's a very quiet, calm, but the confidence is the big thing.
Oh, you're okay. You know what? You're right. You want to know why? He's insanely charismatic when he asks her to dance.
Oh my God.
He's got moves.
Yes, but he has to explain. He can't just be like, "Oh, I'm a good dancer. Let me surprise you." He's like, "My mother made me, like take these dance lessons," and I don't. Yeah, he's incredible. Yeah, he totally is. Well, he knows what to do.
He knows what he is.
Yes.
My mother made me take dance lessons.
He knows. Yeah, he totally knows who he is, and he's like, that's maybe what is so attractive when he's playing. When he's even playing handball, it's like this kind of.
He's not he's not a 5-star athlete here,
No.
and clearly he's got his sweatpants and his this that and the other, but he's playing.
He's playing.
Oh my God,
that's so genius.
That's why it's not going to work.
That's why it's not going to work.
Because his charisma is reserved for the important people in his life. His confidence is what carries him forward, and she's lacking both.
Yes. All right. Well, I know this is.
I'm sad.
I'm sad too. I think this may be one of the first. Well, other than My Fair Lady, when she we know that's going to end, but I think this is the first one.
Well, this is all theoretical.
Yeah.
So perhaps in this
well, and maybe she makes the connection. Maybe she grows.
Yeah.
And maybe she realizes that she can have.
Maybe she opens
both.
Maybe she opens up a bookstore on that side of town.
And maybe he gives her the confidence to. He gives her the confidence to not just let the men in her life like her boss, and he's like, he has a business, he knows how to run a business, maybe he can help her.
Dang it, you know what? No, and he'll
maybe she'll open one in her part of town. Maybe they could live in the middle.
Here's why I'm going to do that. Her inside, I can do this on my own thing, may accept that, but will ultimately resent it.
I think she's just going to be whiny about something.
Now I just feel like we're being mean.
I know. I'm sorry, Izzy. Okay, I do want to do a shout out for this movie for the Roaches.
You?
Who did a lot of the music here. The day after I happened to re-see this movie, a friend of mine posted that one of the Roaches had died. They were a sister act. So, anyway, that made me sad, but I would actually check out the music of the Roaches. It's really fun, and they have great harmonies, and they have, lovely, kind of lyrics.
Cool.
So, all right, well, that was Crossing Delancey.
Thanks for picking, Polina.
Oh, no, you're welcome. I feel like my selections are so random.
Well, they have a connection to you, so they're random in that they've touched you?
They have.
Well, no.
I don't even really know why.
Oh, okay. Well, then for fun, my next selection should be really, really random then.
I know. I'm
The Fugitive.
excited.
Let's go with The Fugitive.
All right. Well, till next time, everyone.
Thanks for stopping by.
Bye.
Hey, Pauline and I would love to hear from you. Tweet us at HEAMcast or email us at contact@heamcast.com. Thanks for listening.